Hashem levadai, Hashem levadai, bayayim hahu, v'nizgav, Hashem levadai, Hashem levadai, bayayim hahu, v'vashem Yaakov levadai, v'yavei kishimai, Avada lo isa shochar, Avada lo isa shochar, Vayvaser Yaakov levadoi, Vayeyavei kishimai, Avada lo isa shochar, Avada lo isa shochar, V'nizgav Hashem levadoi, Hashem levadoi, Vayayim hahu, V'nizgav Hashem levadoi, Hashem levadoi, Vayayim hahu, V'vashem Yaakov levadoi, Vayeyavei kishimai, Avada lo isa shochar, Avada lo isa shochar, V'vashem Yaakov levadoi, Vayeyavei kishimai, Avada lo isa shochar, Avada lo isa shochar. So yesterday we did page 51, 52, and 54, right?
I think
yeah, we're at 58, 57.
No, we did that.
Yeah. 57, 58, yeah, we did. So we're on page 59. Al Yedei Kohanecha HaKadoshim. So we say in the prayer, when we light the Chanukah candles, right, that we're thanking God for the miracle that you performed through your holy Kohanim. Chaverim amitiyim, real friends, hem chaverim shekol kach ma'aminim becha. They are friends who really believe in you. Sheba'avatam hem machsirim lecha et bitchoncha ha'atzmi. That by virtue of their love for you, they're returning to you your self-confidence. Right? Now, what's a real friend? A real friend is somebody who gives you back your self-confidence. Hamakabim b'nei Matityahu Kohen Gadol Chashmonai. The Maccabees, the children of Matityahu, the high priest, the Chashmonai, Hayu Chaverim Ka'ele. These were the kinds of friends they were. Mi natan laYehudim et hakoach ube'etzem et hachutzpah. Who gave the Jews the strength and basically the chutzpah להאמין שהם יכולים לגרש צבא שלם, to believe that they can get rid of an entire army? אתם מבינים? You understand what's being said? אם הם לא היו בטוחים בעצמם, if they wouldn't have had self-confidence, זה ממש התאבדות. Going and fighting against the Greek army would have been like suicide. על פי ההלכה, אסור להתאבד. Halacha doesn't allow you to commit suicide. זה כמו לקפוץ לכביש לפני מכונית נוסעת. It's like jumping into the street in front of a moving car. אבל יהודה המכבי היה כהן. יהודה המכבי was a כהן. והוא ממש האמין שהיהודים, למרות מצבם השפל, מסוגלים לעשות כל דבר. He truly believed that despite their downtrodden, lowly state, he believed that the Jews are capable of everything, of anything. right? In other words, what he's saying is that we started discussing this yesterday. Why did this miracle of Channukah happen particularly through the Kohanim, right? So he explained that the whole thing about Aaron a Kohen, the greatness of Aaron a Kohen is that he had the ability, he knew how to uplift everybody, even somebody who had committed a big transgression. He was able to restore his self-confidence, right? Like what happens when we do an avera, transgression, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, we lose our self-confidence that we're ever going to be able to stop doing this, right? We think that we're stuck in this and I'm always going to have this problem, right? Speak to people who are getting angry all the time and ask them, would you like to not be an angry person? They'll say, yeah, I'd like to not be an angry person. So why don't you stop? And they'll say, I don't think I can, right? Or people who are talking Lashon Hara all the time, or whatever it is. Some people just think that they've lost their self-confidence. They've tried to overcome this, and they failed. They tried again, they failed. They don't have the self-confidence, right? So here the country is pretty much taken over by the Greeks. A lot of the Jews have become Hellenists, right? And they basically have lost the self-confidence that we can actually still be an independent people, and that we can take charge of our lives and we can live as Jews, right? We've done so many things wrong so many times. What's the point of trying again, right? So what Reb Shlomo is saying is that it wasn't just a matter of getting up and rebelling against the Greeks. What was necessary was to restore the self-confidence of the Jews that they could stand up to the Greeks, right? And so he explains that to be a good friend basically means that you're restoring self-confidence. That's what you were trying to do this morning on the phone, is to give this person back their self-confidence, right? So why? It sounds like it wasn't the door. So why particularly the Maccabees? Because they had this in them. They had this ability. They had, as Kohanim, they had this ability to restore our self-confidence. Understand? That was a big part of the miracle. Understand? The fact that they restored the self-confidence. We celebrate, it's interesting, right? In the Shemoneh Esrei, the question is, what are we celebrating at Channukah? Are we celebrating the military victory, or are we celebrating the miracle of the oil?
Could it not be both?
So the answer is yes, it is both. That's why we say Hallel. We say Hallel not because of the miracle of the oil. We say Hallel because of the military victory, right? In the prayer Al Hanisim, right? What we say there is, we say, in the days of Matisyahu, the son of Yochanan, the high priest, the Chashmonaean and his sons, when the wicked Hellenic government rose up against your people, Israel, to make them forget your Torah and violate the decrees of your will. But you, in your abounding mercy, stood by them in the time of their distress. You waged their battles, defended their rights, and avenged the wrong done to them. You delivered the mighty into the hands of the weak, the many into the hands of the few, the impure into the hands of the pure. the wicked into the hands of the righteous, and the wanton sinners into the hands of those who occupy themselves with your Torah. You made a great name, a great and holy name for yourself in your world, and effected a great deliverance and redemption for your people to this very day. So that's about what? That was all about the military victory. Now take a drink of water. Okay. Then we say, then your children entered the shrine of your house, cleansed your temple, purified your sanctuary, kindled delights in your holy courtyards, and instituted these 8 days of Channukah to give thanks and praise to your great name. Understand? So there's two aspects. There's you're celebrating the miracle of the victory. That's definitely a big aspect, right? But it was only a year later that the rabbis made the holiday of Channukah. And when they made the holiday of Channukah, they decided that the focus is going to be not on the military victory. The focus is going to be particularly on the miracle of the oil. Okay? Purim. What's the focus on Purim? What's the focus on Purim?
There are 4 of them.
There's 4 mitzvahs, but what's like what are we celebrating on Purim? We're celebrating that we were saved from annihilation, right? Channukah is different.
No, it's the same. Excuse me. Purim is a physical annihilation,
right?
And then
that's the difference. Channukah is the spiritual annihilation, right? So we're giving thanks for the military victory, okay? No question about it. But the lighting of the candles is not for the military victory. The lighting of the candles is for the spiritual victory, right? So what's Reb Shlomo saying? Reb Shlomo is saying is, how did we go to war against the Greeks? It's not just that if the whole country would have risen up against the Greeks, it's one thing. But the majority of Jews already had Hellenized. You know, like you look in that period, you find rabbis in the Talmud with Greek names, right? The assimilation was really, really strong. So the Kohanim, the children of Matityahu, they somehow were able to restore our self-confidence to say, you can do anything. You're a Jew. You have tremendous power. So, Kulam Shualim. Anybody want to read, Michal? Read. Page 59, last paragraph.
Kulam Shualim. Everybody asks. Hello, Hamalchut.
Sheyechet
to David HaMelech, is not the Malchus, the
kingship
of David HaMelech, doesn't belong. No, doesn't the Malchus belong to David HaMelech and not to the Kohanim?
Right.
So how did the Hashmarim take the Malchus? Madua Hain Ela Shetaksu at
Hamanhigut.
So how were they?
Why?
Why did they grab the leadership? Yatsu and go out to do battle with the opponent.
With the Greeks.
The answer because of nobody else.
Right. In fact, they kept the Malchus for a long time, and at some point it became a sin that they kept the Malchus, that they kept the kingship. They were supposed to return it to the house of David, right? But how come? But here the question really is, like, how come the leadership, how come they had to do it? How come the Kohanim had to do it? So the Ishbitzer answers, רק הכהנים בני אהרון יכלו להחזיר ליהודים את האמונה בעצמם, את האמונה במעבר שלהם. So he says that the Ishbitzer explains that only the Kohanim, only the descendants of Aaron were able to give the Jews back their self-confidence, their confidence in their beyond. Am Yisrael, go on, Michal. Am Yisrael,
that time, Mamish,
Haya Mamash,
the people were Mamish broken. Lo Nishara Lahidim or Tikasot. They didn't have even it didn't remain with them a drop of energy. Or Tikas Shal Amunah Bethlehem.
Shalmuna Basmam, they didn't even have another drop of faith in themselves, of self-confidence.
I was always under the impression that the Hellenists felt confident,
They didn't feel confidence in continuing a Jewish life. Him Hayu,
I don't know if this was
Me You Ashim. You're learning it in Gemara now. Yiyush.
Oh. They gave up.
They were resigned. They had given up. Hayavanim Hayu Ba'im.
When they came.
The Greeks would come, yeah.
And looked in the unity and took a Jew, gave a rim
Gorerim Oto.
Gorim or Tolerate Hamikdash, and Sivam Alav, the Kroa between the
Gorerim Oto the Beit HaMikdash. They would drag him to the Beit HaMikdash.
Well, that's what they were. I see it.
Tow trucks.
By these parking lots.
Yeah, tow trucks and so on, yeah. So they would drag him to the Beit HaMikdash, and they would command him to bow to the image. And if the Jew would, what is Misarev? Refuse, they would kill him on the spot. So the Jews thought shegoralam nechratz. They thought that their fate was already engraved. Another is sealed. Is engraving, right? So either they're going to all die, or shehem chayim ki yivanim of day elidim, or that they thought that the choice was either to die or to live as Hellenists worshiping idols. Then came the Kohanim, vehafchu et hakol, they turned everything over. And the Jews once again started to believe in themselves. Klomar, they started to believe again in their beyond. Their faith in Kedusha and in the light of their souls was restored. Right?
The whole Chap was agreed that they should worship idols?
The Greeks,
or they wanted them to stop the cloud.
The Greeks were the Gemara tells us that, right, that like we just read it in this passage from the Siddur, right, that they came against your people to make them forget your Torah and violate the decrees of your will. In other words, they didn't destroy the Beis Hamikdash. They didn't take away the menorah and take away all our oil. They didn't pour out the oil. They just made it tameh. They made it. They took away its purity, right? What they were saying was, listen, this is a very nice thing that you're doing. Writing a menorah, it's very pretty, it's very nice, but that you should do it with shemen tahor, with oil that is tahor, that they said, no, that they're not going to allow. The question is, why not? Because Tumah and Tahara is something that the world doesn't understand. Okay? And the Greeks said, yeah, you go ahead and light your menorah, but not with oil that you call tahor. You can light as much as you want with oil that is tameh. Okay? So in other words, but the Torah says it has to be shemen zayit zach tahor. It has to be oil that is tahor. And the whole thing of tumah, how something becomes tameh and so on, it's something beyond. Okay? It's not something that you understand. Okay? It's one of those mysteries that we don't understand it, right? And so the Greeks didn't come to destroy the Beis Hamikdash. They said you can have the Beis Hamikdash, but you're going to have we're going to have to put one of their idols into it and worship that. Right? So they wanted to make us forget the Torah. That's what they wanted to make us forget.
Why did they want to do this? Wasn't it enough that they conquered the people and the people paid tribute to sort of thing? Why was it so important that the people should believe the way they did? Like, why was that important?
Because if somebody conquers a country and you allow them to keep their culture and their identity, they're going to continue to see themselves as people that were conquered. And that one day they're going to try to find an opportunity to rise up in rebellion. Okay? But if you destroy their identity, right, then the chances of them rising up in rebellion is much less. That's the whole thing about, like America, the melting pot. Right? America was known as the big melting pot. Right? What happens in a melting pot? What happens in a melting pot? Everything is brought to such a big temperature that it becomes dissolved and loses its identity. Becomes mixed in with the other. Understand? And that's what they were trying to achieve. It's like, to try to melt us down, so to speak, so that way we would buy into their ideology and their way of life and not rebel.
But where there is no need to rebel, like what I'm thinking of is that...
Like where?
What I'm thinking of is Christianity. Had their claim the cross or the sword. And the Muslim has a similar,
Yeah.
Why would all this? I can't understand. Why was it so important? I guess I'm coming from a culture that doesn't believe in that.
I don't understand. The Bible is what? It's so important.
Why would these religions, like where there's no conquering or battle or physical, why was it so important for the Christians and Muslims?
Why did they?
Like, what difference does it make? How
Why did they care? Because they believed that they believed that their way is the only right way. See, in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism doesn't believe that everybody has to be Jewish. One of the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach is that nobody's allowed to worship idols. But you can be a righteous Gentile with 7 mitzvahs, right? As long as you're not worshiping idols, right? The other, for example, the early Christians, they weren't known as Christians, they were known as the New Hebrews. They claimed that they replaced us. That they replaced the Jewish people as the chosen people. And that Hashem, God forbid, had given up on us. Okay? And that's why, so that's why Christianity had a very, very hard time with the continuation of the Jewish people. Because if Jews are continuing to be Jews, that's like a slap in the face for them. It says that what you're saying is not true. Right? So they wanted to wipe us out for that.
Still, even after all that has happened, but they still doing that?
There are still the fundamentalists, definitely.
Some of the Gerim meat come from Catholic homes.
Yeah, that's Gerim. Okay.
I'm not going to pursue it, I just don't understand it.
You don't understand why man is so evil. That's what you don't understand. Baruch Hashem, I'm glad you don't understand it. Better not to understand it, right, Bernhard? Did you see last week? I saw in the news that the grandson of was it Rudolf Hess or her? Yeah, Rudolf Hess, who was the Nazi who was in charge of liquidating the ghetto in Budapest. He was responsible for 400,000 Jews being sent to the gas chambers. His grandson came to Hungary last week. He's fighting against the current rise in Nazi ideology. His own grandson. Reb Meir in the Gemara was a descendant of Nero. According to the Gemara, was a grandson of Nero. He was a convert, became this big rabbi. Right? So it's like these periods of insanity come across the world. Like Judy was reading the other day the speech that Israel's ambassador to the United Nations gave there. A great speech, a beautiful speech. He was basically speaking to an empty hall. As soon as he gets up to talk, they walk out of the room.
But that's not the whole of it. It was only the average nation.
And the ones who are their supporters, yeah. So it's like, and what's going on in France right now and so on, it's like it's really dangerous again. That's the way it is. So we mustn't lose our self-confidence, right? So, page 61. Chotmo shel Kohen Gadol. Those words mean, what does chotam mean? The seal, right? like when you put a seal on something. Do you know that word?
No, seal.
Remember in the old times when you would send a letter, you would put some wax and you would stamp it with your ring,
seal.
right? So that's a seal, S-E-A-L. Spelled the same way as a seal for that animal that lives in the water, but that's called a seal, chotam. So Imke and Agvora Mesirut Nefesh. Come on, Michal, read, please.
So Hagvora Mesirut Nefesh, the heroism and the, how do you translate Mesirut Nefesh?
Total devotion of your life.
So all this
Dafke mehakohanim.
Dafka had to come from the Kohanim.
Keep going. Hachaverim. The true friends. Banu.
They believe.
Those who believe in us. Those who believe in our beyondness. In other words, those who believe that we're connected in the beyond. Keep going. Kach misipar b'Gemara. B'miyuchad.
It was
the nes. The first word is nes. Nes pach hashemen. Go on, translate it. The miracle of
the cruise of oil was connected to the Kohen Gadol.
It's especially connected with the Kohen Gadol. Kach mesupar, keep going. Kach mesupar b'Gemara.
So it is said in the Gemara. Kishenifnusu Lebanim Leheichal.
Tim'u
Hashmanim Bedos. So they defiled all the oil.
They defiled all the oil. They made all the oil tamei when they entered into the sanctuary. Go on. Ukishigavra. Chashmonai.
And when the kingdom of
the house of Chashmonai
was overpowered, and
the Nitzchum, and they were victorious over them.
But they searched below Matsu Ela Pachachad Shoshem. They only found one who was Shahaya Munach
that was lying there, and
it had the
seal of the Kohen Gadol.
It was only enough for it to burn for one day. This is something I never knew. One day.
Wait, finish the next sentence. Naaseh bones. A miracle happened, and they lived with it for 8 days. Yeah. What was?
Means what? Does it mean one day for all 7?
It had enough oil for 1 day.
To light all 7.
They made all 7. Yeah.
So it doesn't mean for one branch.
No, it means for 1 day.
Okay.
For 1 day of the menorah lighting.
So who was this going to the fee they are Achad.
Now, who is that Kohen Gadol? Whose seal? Which Kohen Gadol's seal was on that cruise of oil? That's what he's asking. What was the name of that Kohen Gadol? Okay, who was it? So one opinion in the Zohar says that it was Abraham Avinu. That this oil that they found goes back all the way to Abraham Avinu.
He wasn't alive then.
That's right. It was an ancient bottle of oil.
The oil was bottled and sealed after this time.
After who? But this opinion says that this was sealed, that this particular cruise of oil was sealed by Avram Avinu. Okay? Somehow it had never been used. Right? She'et HaPasuk.
Before the Pasuk and
because the verse, where do we get this idea that it could have been Avram Avinu, right? Avram Avinu preceded Kohanim.
They say that it was Melchizedek.
No, basically the Mefarshim say, correct, that when it says in the Torah, V'hu Kohen Le'el Elyon, so generally speaking, we explain it as referring to Melchizedek, right? This is after the war where Avram Avinu went to battle to save his cousin, his nephew Lot, right? And he was victorious. So after the war, it says that Melchizedek came and brought wine and bread, right? And they had a Thanksgiving meal, okay? And it says, "V'hu Kohen Le'el Elyon." He was a Kohen to the God Most High. So normally when you read the verse, the beginning of the verse is talking about Melchizedek. And the assumption is that the rest of the verse is also talking about Melchizedek. But Melchizedek was some kind of a priest in his community. Okay? So again, מפני שאת הפסוק, והוא כהן לאל עליון שבדרך כלל מפרשים על מלכיצדק, this verse that says that he was a high priest, he was a priest to the God Most High, is generally referring to Melchizedek, shehu Shem ben Noach. He was a descendant, he was Shem, descendant of Noach. Hazohar Nefaresh. So the Zohar explains, שהוא מתייחס לאברהם, אבל אברהם אבינו היה הכהן הגדול הראשון. So the Zohar says that the words "V'hu Kohen Le'el Elyon" is referring to not Melchizedek, but it's referring to Avraham Avinu, right? And Avraham Avinu haya haKohen hagadol harishon. And according to the Zohar, Avraham Avinu was the first Kohen Gadol. Rak Kohen Gadol yachol להתפלל על סתם. So says Reb Shlomo, only a Kohen Gadol was capable of praying to save the people of Stam.
How can you ever say that? The Kirchhoff wasn't established then.
But the word Kohen is already being used in the Torah. What wasn't established yet was that Aaron was going to be the first Kohen in Am Yisrael after the Torah was given. But Yisrael was a Kohen, right? It says that Moshe Rabbeinu came to Midian, and what does the Torah refer to as Yisrael? It refers to him as Kohen Midian. Melchizedek. Okay, good, but so what is the meaning of a Kohen? The word lachahen, the verb lachahen. Do you know what it means? It means to serve. Right. So those who worked as religious functionaries, they are Kohanim.
Would one say that the Avos were?
So in a certain sense, they were Kohanim, in a certain sense. Okay? All of Israel, it says, Vatem Tihiyuli, before the Torah was given, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, tell the people, Vatem Tihiyuli Mamlechet Kohanim. You're going to be a kingdom of Kohanim. Does it mean every Jew is a Kohen? No. Does it mean that every Jew is a Kohen? Yes. Right? There's a Kohen that works in the Beit HaMikdash. That's specifically the descendants of Aaron. But it is a Kohen who's serving Hashem in a way that he's bringing God's light into the world. So that all the people of Israel are Kohanim in that sense. Okay. Let's do just a couple of more lines. Page 62. Aaron HaKohen mekabel oto koach mi'Avraham Avinu. So this koach that Aaron HaKohen had to restore people's self-confidence, Reb Shlomo says, where did he get it? He got it from Avraham Avinu. Chesed Elyon, the symbol of supernal kindness. Okay, I think we're going to stop over here today. Seder? Okay? Yeah. I just have a good Shabbos, everybody. We're having Shalosh Shudas. Where do you live? Far away? Oh, so it's not so far away.